F-16 is exactly what kind of fighter jet? Why did the Russian army draw a special red line just for it? As long as F-16 is aided, it will be regarded as a nuclear signal. Just put it this way. In the eyes of the U.S. Air Force, F-16 is a synonym for low-end and backward. They simply look down on it because they think it's too low-grade. In the eyes of the U.S. allies, F-16 is like a lucky star sent from heaven to save them. They get a product worth 5 points at a price of 1 point. And it's really convenient to use. In the eyes of the non-allies of the U.S., F-16 is the artifact that they dream of and long for day and night. In the eyes of the Russian army and some of their little brothers, F-16 is a thorn in their eyes and a pain in their flesh, making them extremely angry. Sometimes I'm curious why the Russian army is so scared of the American F-16, which has no stealth ability and is 40 years old. For a once so-called second strongest military power in the world that has fifth-generation stealth fighter jets, isn't it easy to handle? Later, I realized that although the Russian army has strength, it can only participate in parades. When it really comes to fighting, they still know how much they weigh. After all, for decades, there is no record of any Soviet-style fighter jets shooting down F-16. The upper-class horse of the Russian aerospace forces versus the lower-class horse of the U.S. Air Force still has such a big gap. Do you think the Russian army cannot shiver? I really don't know what the reaction of the Russian army will be when the U.S. provides F-35 to the Ukrainian army. Back then, the U.S. Congress lords disliked that the F-15 was too wasteful, so they forced the Air Force to develop a single-engine F-16. Not only the radar is 2 circles smaller, the size of the aircraft is 2 circles smaller, and the performance is far inferior to that of the F-15, and even inferior to that of the F-18 and Rafale fighter jets. Although F-16 has a series on its head, it is actually a down-to-earth attack aircraft, and its air combat ability is very weak. So in the U.S. air combat system, it's the F-15 that engages in air combat, and the F-16 conducts ground attacks. The high-low combination of F-15 and F-16 is the normal state. Some of the U.S. allies without high-end fighter jets can only use F-16 to make up the number for air combat. But no matter how weak it is, it still has a great advantage over Russian-made fighter jets. This advantage is not in the F-16 fighter jet itself, but in the missiles attached to F-16 that are given to the Ukrainian army. The M9 series Sidewinder short-range air-to-air missiles attached to F-16 also have to be given, and the AMRAAM series medium-range air-to-air missiles also have to be given. These missiles are all the most advanced missiles at present. Storm Shadow and IDEPS tactical missiles all make the Russian army feel like a fishbone stuck in the throat. Once F-16 comes and the restriction of not attacking the Russian mainland is lifted, the Russian army will really have trouble sleeping.